Well. We tried to tell you about old Donnie Boy. Well, Donnie Boy has been busted. There has been emails that have been gone through, and old Donnie Boy been hanging out with, y'all already know. But listen, let's get into this video, honey. Let's just get on into it. Donnie Boy has been busted. We all know that his boy Epstein was a convicted. Y'all do know what convicted means. You know, like Donald Trump is a convicted multiple felon person. Like, we're not gonna keep calling Donald Trump a felon, because a felon is generally a person that has one felony. He has multiple, so we don't call him multiple. But Donald Trump's name has been mentioned in an email, probably more than this, but he has been mentioned in emails. And y'all, listen, we got to get into this because we just got to get into it, okay?
The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed from the Epstein estate reams, thousands of pages worth, released this morning by Democrats on that panel, several mentioning President Trump by name.
This morning, the bombshell release of what House Democrats say are emails to and from deceased convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, several referring to President Donald Trump by name. In an April 2011 email released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers say Epstein wrote to his now convicted accomplice, Ghislainemaxwell, 3 years after pleading guilty to sex crimes involving a minor, telling her, "I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Unnamed victims spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." According to the released emails, Maxwell responds, "I have been thinking about that." But this summer, in a recorded interview with the Department of Justice, Maxwell told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the president's former lawyer, she never witnessed Trump act inappropriately.
"I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects."
Shortly after that interview, Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison camp, prompting criticism she received special treatment. Committee Democrats also releasing this January 2019 email, where Epstein corresponds with author Michael Wolff less than 6 months before the financier would be charged again, this time with sex trafficking of minors. Discussing President Trump's repeated claim he kicked Epstein out of his Palm Beach club, Epstein writing, "Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop." President Trump has denied any knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes.
It's a hoax. It's started by Democrats.
After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump said he hadn't spoken with him in 15 years. And earlier this year, Trump claimed the reason he banned his one-time friend from Mar-a-Lago in the mid-2000s was because Epstein stole Trump's club staff, including young women.
He took people, and because he took people, I said, "Don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me." And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
And no response yet from the White House on the release of these emails. Meantime, right up here on Capitol Hill, in just hours, Speaker Mike Johnson will swear in Representative-elect 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐫𝐢. The Speaker has prevented her from 7 weeks now from taking her seat. She says one of her first orders of business will be signing that petition, providing the last signature it needs to force a vote on the House floor for the release of thousands of other pages of the Department of Justice's Epstein records. Once she does that, the clock starts ticking down to that vote, expected in the coming weeks, George.
Well. I don't even know where to go with this. The pedophile protection program seems like that's what this is, because, you know, the people are protecting a whole pedophile. Now, y'all heard and saw the video. What more do I need to say behind that? They are protecting a pedophile. Okay, let's get into it. Now, this is coming from the New York Times. Epstein files live updates. GOP lawmakers release thousands of files. Shortly after, Democrats released emails showing that Jeffrey Epstein discussed his relationship with President Donald Trump. Republicans on the Oversight Committee released 2 20,000 additional documents. Now, keep in mind, Donald Trump been lying, saying that he wasn't friends and didn't. Frankly, Donald Trump lies and says, try to make it seem like he don't even know who the hell Jeffrey Epstein is. Jeffrey Epstein is your pedo brother, okay? That is who he is. He is your pedo brother, okay? Now, let's get into it. House Republicans on Wednesday released a trove of 23,000 pages of documents from the estate of the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein after months of delays, shortly after Democrats released several emails, included in the trove that suggested that Donald Trump knew more about Mr. Epstein's sex trafficking than he has previously acknowledged. A whole president in the White House that is familiar with the sex trafficker. What is the world coming to? The documents were obtained by the chairman of the House, the Oversight Committee Representative James, through a subpoena in August. They were published online about 2 hours after House Democrats released an email from Mr. Epstein in which he wrote that Mr. Trump spent hours at my house with one of Mr. Epstein's victims. Now, isn't that crazy? How is Donald Trump spending time at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim, y'all? This is crazy, okay? Why do we have this man in the White House? After President Trump announced in Friday 2017 that he would choose 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿exander a former federal attorney, as his labor secretary, Jeffrey Epstein wrote his defense lawyer, Roy Black, to ask who will represent Acosta at hearings. Acosta was the U.S. attorney in Southern Florida when Epstein agreed to a lenient plea deal in 2008 that allowed him to avoid federal sex trafficking charges. Black replied that Acosta would be by himself with perhaps a Trump administration to assist and accompany him. The Epstein deal was brought up during Acosta's confirmation hearing. Acosta defended it, saying it was offered based on the evidence he had at the time. Acosta was confirmed, but he would resign in 2019. This is after Epstein was charged in New York, that provoked a new round of questions about Acosta's role in the 2008 deal. Y'all, what are we doing here? Woo-wee. Let's quickly jump or switch gears here because I want to get into something else, y'all. This is crazy. And if you voted for Donald Trump, you need to run away, honey, because this is a mess. This is a mess. Let's get into our girl, Representative 𝐬𝐮𝐻 Crockett.
𝐬𝐮𝐻 Crockett of Texas, a key member of the House Oversight Committee and the House Judiciary Committee as well. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. What stands out to you from these emails that were publicly released by the committee today?
Yeah, so number one, it is clear that he knew what was going on, which I think that he's kind of alluded to that at some point in time because the president said that he was trying to kick Ghislaine out of Mar-a-Lago because it seems like that's where girls were being recruited from based on information that we have. But more importantly is that he was having conversation, he being Jeffrey Epstein, with Michael Wolff, who is writing this book or trying to put together this book. And in real time, as Trump is running for his first presidential run, we hear or we see that he made it clear that he believes that he has leverage over Trump. And he said that a Trump regime would basically open up, this is me paraphrasing, this is not exactly what he said, but basically it'd be a free-for-all. And as we've seen, especially in this second term, it's been a free-for-all where Trump has absolutely pardoned some folk that we know are terrible, and we are waiting on him to pardon Ghislainemaxwell. I think that that's coming up soon, too.
Yeah, an important point indeed. Congresswoman, let's take a closer look at that email from Epstein where he writes to the author, Michael Wolff, saying this, and it's a direct quote, redacted victim, the name was redacted, Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Obviously, we don't have the full context here, but I'm curious, how do you read this specific email and what it means?
Yeah, I think that it is showing that he was well aware and he was trying to cover his tracks at that point in time. And I think that that's what you saw from Jeffrey. Obviously, it'd be better if we could talk to Jeffrey today, but it was very interesting that ultimately Jeffrey Epstein died sitting in prison during Trump's administration.
We had on Representative Marlon Stutzman earlier. He's a Republican, and he tried to make the case that President Trump is the most investigated person in the world, and he has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing here. What do you make of that?
Listen, they will do and say anything to cover themselves. You know, I will admit that Donald Trump has been investigated more than the normal, but he just happens to be more corrupt and more criminal than any other president than we've had. I will point out he is the only president who has been convicted of 34 felony convictions that we've ever had in the Oval Office. So while we don't know exactly what crimes he may or may not have committed, just think of it this way. If you know that you didn't do anything, then why is it that you would be twisting members of your own party's arms, trying to get them not to release it? This would be exonerating. If you know that you are free and clear, then why not say, you know what, release the files? In fact, he campaigned on releasing the files because he didn't realize that anything that he was involved in whatsoever was involved in the files. But let me tell you something. Another thing that was said in that other email that he had with Michael Wolff was he was talking about if he wants to basically play hardball, we will make mention of the fact that he really has been on the plane. And I don't remember if it mentioned the island.
Let's actually put that email up just so our viewers can fully understand what it says. I just hope the control room can put this email up. It says, I think you should let him hang himself. And this is in response to a question of whether CNN would plan to ask Trump in a town hall about the relationship with Epstein. Epstein said, how do we craft an answer for him? And Michael Wolff says in this email, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime.
Yes.
That's the full email.
Yes, yes, yes. That is clear that Jeffrey Epstein had something to hang over his head. Why else or how else could you have a debt that you are able to? Now, exactly what it was, who knows, right? And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. But the fact that Trump does not want these files to be out, to me, says that he has more to hide than him actually being able to exonerate himself.
And then the other email talking about that we used initially, I'm just trying to find that email so I can be really precise here, but it talks about how Epstein is emailing Maxwell saying that Trump was with a victim at his house for several hours. This is an email from April 2nd, 2011. Republicans are saying that that victim is Virginia Giuffre. As you know, she died by suicide. She's been very outspoken. Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the email right here on your screen. She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that? And can you confirm that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's redacted who the victim is, so I won't necessarily take the Republicans' word on who it is that's redacted. And I don't know why they would necessarily redact someone's name who is deceased at this point.
The Democrats did that, though. The Democrats redacted.
No. I understand, but I'm just saying, like, our biggest concern is to actually make sure that we are protecting victims. And obviously, she wrote a book. She told her truth. Whether or not she told everything, who knows? Again, another person that we can't talk to because we have yet another side around this. So I think that that's actually one of the things that we should talk about is that the president has tried to call this all a hoax. I don't think you have this many people dying around a hoax. I don't think you have somebody trying to hide files around a hoax. We know that there's something there. We know that his own attorney general had to admit that he is in the files, but they are trying to hide stuff. The only reason that we have these emails is because we were able to get them from the estate, not because the Department of Justice was releasing information, not because Kash Patel was releasing information, even though they've had subpoenas from the Oversight Committee for some time. Kash Patel continues to hold back information. So I thank God that there is somebody that still respects the law and still respects subpoenas in this country, but it's not the people that are in power to do it, the people that actually conducted the investigation. Imagine what we may discover if we got the investigatory information versus getting something from an estate.
Well, but we should also note that the head of the Oversight Committee is a Republican. It's Republican. The chairman is 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐤, and he is the one who is issuing these subpoenas.
Well, let's be clear about this.
Okay.
This is not something that he wanted to do. This was a subcommittee, remember? It has been the Speaker of the House who has consistently tried to avoid this by shutting down the House. So what the Speaker did is he sent us out on an early recess. But before we left, it was a subcommittee of the Oversight Committee that actually did the motion for the subpoenas, and the Democrats kept pushing, and some Republicans actually joined with the Democrats. This was not led by 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐤.
Like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if she's on that subcommittee.
Okay.
But Nancy Mace is on that subcommittee for sure. She's actually the chair of that subcommittee. This subcommittee, the ranking member is Summer Lee. So it was that subcommittee. So this was actually the tail wagging the dog. I just want to be clear about that. And ultimately, the chairman had a vote that was bipartisan, that was the majority, and he had to do it. But whether or not they have been like slow rolling this, there's no question about the fact that they have.
And you have had Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe Thomas Massie. It's been some Republicans who want the full floor vote on this.
Yeah, we've got 4. 4 out of the 219 Republicans, yes, in the House. The rest of them seem to be okay with being complicit with protecting pedophiles.
You know, it's interesting. A CNN poll from last July showed that 50% of Americans were feeling dissatisfied about the amount of information released on the Epstein case. Did that have any influence at all on your decision to make these emails public today?
No, I mean, ultimately what's happened is, obviously, again, we've not been getting anything from the DOJ. Instead, it's been the estate of Epstein. And so as they've been turning things over, it takes staff time to review those documents and things like that to make sure that we've got something, number one, of value to the public. There's still additional information. I want to be clear. We got way more than 3 emails. But in their cursory review, they were able to say, okay, here are 3 emails that we think are of value. We do anticipate that there will be more that they will find that will be of value. They will go through the redaction process. They will also consult with the Republicans before we release anything. So it takes a little bit of a process. But I will say, again, that the estate seemingly has been more participatory than our own Department of Justice, who we actually oversee.
So where do you think all of this is heading?
Good question. I don't know, but hopefully it will start with the swearing in of 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿, as they have been avoiding that. Again, the House was shut down over that. I'm sure that the president has been making calls trying to get one of the 4 Republicans that did sign on to the discharge petition. I'm sure he is begging and threatening to get them to pull their names off of there. We know that they don't want to vote. We know that they called us in just for 1 day to work after we've been out since September. Again, we could be doing additional work. Even if this continuing resolution passes, we should be passing our appropriations bills. That's all the continuing resolution is for, it is in the meantime. But instead, it seems like they want to continue to be evasive so that they can slow walk this subpoena actually coming down.
All right, Congressman Jasmine Crockett, great to see you here in the situation, and thank you for your time.
Woo-wee. Okay. So, guys, this is where we are. I mean, Donald Trump, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not surprised. I've been saying this for a very long time. Donald Trump has been found in emails. Now, let me make sure y'all understand this. The Republicans are working hard to not release any of these files. The files that you guys see are coming from the estate. It is not coming from the DOJ. Now, how corrupt can you be that the DOJ, which is overseen by Congress and all of these different departments, but they are not releasing the files? So are we going to sit up here and act like Donald Trump don't got nothing to hide, because he does?